Despite having a billion-dollar film and a prequel show at the cost of $650 million, Andor has only one point of infamous notoriety thus far in the galaxy far, far away. Because of the lackluster impact of the series Andor, Tony Gilroy for some reason took to slash film to cope and seethe over 2012's Avengers. Hey guys, welcome to Black Angus Reviews. Today we're going to be talking about Star Wars. I know it's been a long time since I've done a Star Wars specific video, but I just came across this and I had to talk about this because you may have heard of this show Disney Plus called Andor, Star Wars Andor, and the writer Tony Gilroy. He's gotten a lot of flack this year for the second season. Probably saw Star Wars Theory cry about it, and others pontificating over if I guess I got a YouTube safe essay in any form is okay to show in Star Wars. Um, Kind of exposing how feminist they all are intrinsically on the topic. And also how ignorant they are on the context and subject matter of Star Wars when you have various characters, Leia, Ula, and nameless people in brothel stuff that are either prostitutes or in that type of service under force of some kind, like Leia and Ula and others. Um, and I didn't really think much of it. I think the show is a really good show that doesn't belong in Star Wars, and not because of the subject matter. And to fully address that really quick, Anakin saves his mother, or attempts to, and she dies once he actually finds her. And then he slaughters the Sand People, Tusken Raiders, on Tatooine. Um, the implication, the visuals, it all lends itself to Shmi Skywalker being an SA victim. And even if that's not, she's just getting like tortured. The visuals alone are, highly adult in nature, I would say. As a kid, I never picked up on it. It's like, oh no, he took his mom, tied her up. But anyway, I just wanted to quickly address this on Andor. All right. But that's really all anyone's talked about. It's a show that is not groundbreaking for the narrative of Star Wars. It's interesting. I think it is brilliant in the idea of like really showing what war is in reality within the sci-fi context, that war is gritty. There really is no good and bad. It's a lot of shades of gray most of the time, and the good guys get their hands dirty. We can pat ourselves on the back for our involvement in Germany in World War II. But look what we did in Japan. Just, you know, we can kind of wash our hands clean because we're the saviors. Um, so I think that's the real nature of war, not this black and white cookie cutter. And I would say it doesn't work in Star Wars because the narrative we're given. Obviously, Luke Skywalker and company, the rebellion, are terrorists, at least in the eyes of the government, the Empire. But they are the heroes. So it's kind of confusing. It's one thing to do the prequels and show a lot of gray characters in this World War One. How did we get here? Kind of war leading into this more bifurcated, defined World War II of the original trilogy. But when you're trying to tell us nuance, Game of Thrones, gritty gray world of politics and war, doesn't really mash up well. I think that's the real shortcoming. Now, I'm front loading all that because besides that essay conversation, which was not even any bit sexually gratuitous anyway, also it's war. This is a common factor of war through history. um, I don't really see why people were so hung up on it. If anything, I thought it was maybe too tasteful, is too refined to even be a point to film for this adult Star Wars show. I say don't because no kid fucking wants to watch Andor. If they watch it, they're wanting to see lightsabers, or wanting to see clone troopers and stormtroopers and robots shooting and battle. They want spectacle, and no kid's gonna fucking put up with this show. I'm sorry to tell you, unless they're just a super nerd for Star Wars. Now, I say all this because in the news now, we have from the direct, Andor creator, that's Tony Gilroy, reveals honest reaction or reason why recent Marvel movies are failing. And this just really shows how uh, this article is going to show you how high on their own supply a lot of these creators are. Even if they're good, this smugness at what has kind of taken the forefront of entertainment with the MCU has really affected the whole system for the last decade. Love it or hate it, it's really set the mark. And I would say there's definitely some downgrades, but it also leads us to way greater heights creatively to strive for. And these people like Gilroy and Scorsese, they get their foot in their mouth crying about it, and then they end up failing, and they're just railing at what people like now, in some instance. Obviously, TikTok and whatnot's a problem. Uh, the way we consume, the fact we say consuming instead of like, oh, I enjoyed a movie. All these factors are at play, but there's definitely a smugness from these artists. Maybe they deserve to have that, but um, I would say they need some humility, obviously. All right, so it's from Kleinfeld at the direct. Tony Gilroy has some choice words about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, nailing exactly why recent Marvel movies are not working. The creator behind Disney's Andor series shared his honest thoughts about why recent Marvel movies are failing to resonate with audiences. Uh, Tony Gilroy, the man behind both Andor and Star Wars Rogue One, is coming off the release of the critically acclaimed second season of his Diego Luna-led streaming show. The Bourne Identity writer has not been shy about working within the franchise entertainment machine, speaking his mind about canon, fan reactions, and how it all plays into his crafting a story. Gilroy's frank comments have not been restricted to the world of Star Wars either. The showrunner has recently been quoted discussing his honest opinion on the MCU. These comments come at a time when Marvel has been under severe scrutiny, with audiences turning on the super-powered brand for the first time in its nearly 20-year history. The conversation with Slash Film, Gilroy opened up on why the MCU has faltered in recent years, saying they ultimately come down to, for lack of a better term, getting the disc, which is a problem he wanted to avoid when working on Andor. Says, in the show, it's perfect. K2SO's late introduction was something I always intended. The versions that they had of the show prior, they were slick and they were interesting. They were not bad, but they had a fatal flaw. It seemed to me, which is if that's your show that you're going to storm the Citadel in the pilot, what are you going to do in episode 9? What do you do? You're just going to keep getting the disc? He specifically noted how this was an issue in 2012's Avengers and the other MC movies, where the story in his mind is ultimately always driven forward by a superpowered treasure hunt. He said that if all you're doing is chasing a box, the Tesseract in this case, it's not narratively interesting in any way. He says trying to get to the, what do they call it? I can't remember the name of the box. What the fuck is the name of the box in Avengers? What the fuck are they going for? The Tesseract. That's why all those Marvel movies are. That's why they fail. You're just constantly, if that's what you're doing, then you're doing it just to try to get the Tesseract. Gilroy's latest work in the second season of Andor, Disney Plus, telling the gripping tale of telling the gripping tale of Diego Luna's casting Andor in his beginnings, working within the Rebel Alliance. His show has been critically acclaimed, with some calling it one of the best takes in the iconic sci-fi franchise ever, elevating it beyond what many know it for, giving a deep HBO-style treatment to the galaxy far, far away. Again, I think that's cool. I just think it's really fucking boring. And that's such an odd thing. So I love slow burn films. I love boring movies. But okay, here's the thing. Aside from the boring nature of it, and I think going way beyond political nuance that Lucas would ever play with himself, in the Star Wars universe. Star Wars is two things. First and foremost, story about fathers and sons and their relation, the legacy, all of that. Sins of the father obviously is a huge narrative um, trope in Star Wars. Anakin and Han Solo into Kylo Ren. Sins of the father, or it's about just fatherhood. So you get even surrogate fatherhood with Qui Gon and Anakin initially. Um, Ray and Han Solo, Luke and Obi-Wan. There's a repetitive nature of like father involvement or lack thereof. That's a big thing. And then secondly, arguably more at stake, more substantial, narratively, um, I was maybe lore and whatnot, is the cosmic fight of good and evil. Star Trek's about like this interpersonal politics and exploration. Star Wars is about the grand concept of good and evil and its fight for control or supremacy, and the agents that can wield its power, and how will it affect them? Will they stay the course of the light, or will they falter? Those are the two elements, and you don't have either in Andor. That's the other huge drop off. It's like Boba Fett's cool, clone troopers are cool, blasters, ships, pod racing, indoor force chase, the arena in episode 2. All these elements, visual elements, and fun of Star Wars, it really doesn't matter. You're not there if you don't have those two elements, and that's what Andor's missing. So it's really funny this guy's talking about he doesn't get the core of Star Wars. He's making cool thing with the label of Star Wars. So it's really frustrating, really frustrating. But also, like, I just had this interesting conversation yesterday with Rookie about Civil War, where it's like we're 10 years removed from that movie, and it's still like I find new nuggets and depths and interest, and some things missing in hindsight with some of these talks, but you know, it's uh it's a personal story. There's really no progression aside from like, hey, we got Spider-Man rights now. There's no progression for like trinkets and Easter eggs in the Civil War film. Um, and then you get like Infinity War and Endgame where you get like full consequence. So I don't get what these people like Gilroy and Scorsese want to go after Andor. It's really annoying to say the least, and I just don't think they get the context. And also, Avengers Loki wants the Tesseract for plans with uh Thanos. 'Cause ultimately, it's what, the Space Gem or the Power Stone? Can't remember which one. But so it's MacGuffin for Loki ultimately and Thanos, but for our heroes, this is like, hey, don't let this get in the wrong hands, and they have to like form this group to begin with around this problem, and you get all these interactions and problem solving, and that's the entertainment, Like I don't, you not get what they're adapting. They're adapting fucking paper cartoons from the '60s and taking it seriously to some degree. It's just I don't know. It's really weird. Had to go on that tangent. Anyway, Gilroy, is he right about the MCU? Gilroy's Marvel movie takes will almost certainly rub some movie fans the wrong way. Obviously, me. His comments are inherently controversial, calling it the mega movie franchise for being narratively simplistic. Again, I just kind of argued, yeah, that's ultimately comics are superhero comics at least is like, hey, I found this power. I want to do good. And someone's like, well, you could like rob a bank and pay your student loans off and not be in debt. And then it's like, huh, should I do that? Or actually, I'm going to fight people that do that because they're cutting the line. They're cheating the system, and I'm going to stand up for the little guy. That is superhero. That's it. That's all you need. Any extra depth, Dark Knight, this like huge philosophical ideas, it all needs the underpinning of the simple I'm a hero, or hey, fuck you, I'm going to be the bad guy. What's the point? or or at at best gets nuance like Doctor Manhattan or Conquest, or some realm like that of a power guy. It's like, what's the point of any of this? This fight is juvenile. Anyway, this of course comes from the man behind a Star Wars series and Andor that has been calling this narrative complex character studies and franchise entertainment. While recent MCU movie plots may be the issue with the franchise that it seeks to reach the heights it once did, it is much more complicated issue than that. The idea of Marvel fatigue has been a topic in the industry for years, dating back to the lackluster theatrical output from Avengers Endgame. What? It made $2 billion. What are you talking about? Okay. Recent quote unquote failure of the MCU likely has to do more with oversaturation than anything. Yeah, I feel like Gilroy isn't even aware. He's kind of in a Chris Nolan situation. No one was able to make the Batman he did because they did the 90s Batman. Not so much Forever. That was a good hit. Mixed feelings, but overall success. Good feeling coming out. Batman and Robin was just, yeah, no one wants this. Failure. And it's because they tried to merchandise every aspect. They tried to make merchandise to then make that a plot in the movie. They completely reverse engineered themselves into debt. Um, and the same thing with Star Wars. Star Wars gets to a point to take these daring risks to make an Andor type of show because uh you get this onslaught of garbage, it's like, hey, we're gonna rush out, and then Solo happens and it kind of makes them have to rethink everything. And that's why I've been floundering ever since after episode 9, barely crossing a billion. Um, they don't know what they're doing. And even Mando, they've lost the narrative flow with Mando. Like they're gonna take another swing at it, the films, but this is how you get someone like Gilroy even getting the job to make this. Like, who asked for Andor? Who wanted, like, I need more Cassian Andor stories. What? Okay, like he doesn't even realize the gift he's been given thanks to the catastrophe with Lucasfilm. Let's see. The push into TV created an overabundance of Marvel content from that even Marvel Studio. Feige has regretted pursuing, and with things looking rather wayward early on the ongoing multiverse saga, this is when many people started to fall off the MCU train. Now, though, with some momentum coming off of Deadpool and Thunderbolts heading into Fantastic Four and Avengers movies, there's hope among MCU fans that the franchise may be able to recapture its former glory and prove people like Gilroy wrong. But yeah, so sorry I meandered. It's been a long time since I made just a straight, hey, here's a topic, here's an article, whatever. It's not my forte necessarily. Um, but yeah, obviously this really sparked some conversation with me. So I hope you appreciate the raw, unfettered fandom aspect, even if it's like, what exactly was Angus's point? I appreciate y'all being here. Hopefully you subscribe. Hopefully you come by streams. I usually have them on Thursdays. And just a good conversation, entertainment, and societal whatnot that kind of applies. So appreciate you being here. See you around.